When did your most priceless heirloom disappear? Days before your wedding? Holy crap, you guys. I just need to type this out because my hands are literally shaking so bad I almost dropped my iPhone 14 into a half-eaten container of Talenti gelato. I found out yesterday that the entire destination wedding we spent 8 months planning is completely foobar. And the reason I am typing this from the break room of a depressing suburban mall kiosk at 2:17 a.m. is because the one thing that actually mattered, the actual reason we were having the wedding in the first place, is gone. Stolen. Poof. I am Logan Martinez, 24M, and until roughly 6 hours ago I was just a stressed out, recovering workaholic trying to manage a full-time job, 47 hours PTO accrued but who's counting, while coordinating a 150-person destination wedding in Cabo. I should have known this was cursed from the start, honestly. My partner Leo is great, but planning, zero effort. He asked me to handle everything, including the most important part, securing my grandmother's antique diamond brooch, which we were going to have melted down and reset into wedding bands. That brooch is the only thing that matters to my family. It's been passed down 7 generations. It's worth like maybe $75,000, but to us it's priceless. I swear I packed it. I distinctly remember placing the tiny velvet box, which feels heavy enough to contain the sun, into the emergency carry-on bag I reserved just for important documents and apparently irreplaceable family history. I did this last Tuesday at 11:47 a.m. right before my 12:00 p.m. Zoom meeting with the Cabo Resort coordinator, the one who then ghosted me and left me with a $347 cancellation fee for the welcome dinner I hadn't even confirmed. See? Cursed. But rewind. The theft isn't even the first layer of hell I encountered today. The whole reason I am currently squatting near a display of sad-looking essential oil diffusers is because of the sheer unadulterated chaos surrounding my inner circle, which is what led us here. The Purity Pearls and Personalized Gifts kiosk on the second floor of the Willow Creek Galleria Mall. I spent all day fighting. First, it was Audrey Carter, 34F, who I thought was my friend but is now firmly my bitter ex-friend bridesmaid. Audrey is the type of person who insists she is helpful but just generates problems. She was originally supposed to pick up the custom gift baskets. I zelled her the $450 back in March. Logan, why are the gift baskets filled with expired Trader Joe's gourmet snacks and a printout of an obscure anti-vaccination pamphlet? I asked her over the phone this morning, trying to keep my voice low because I was on the 5th floor elevator at work and Greg from accounting was listening. She hit me with the gaslighting special. Oh honey, you're remembering it wrong. Those pamphlets are educational. And in GL I only had $43.67 left on my credit card when I bought the snacks, so I had to improvise. TBH, you're being dramatic about the expiration dates. It's flavor, not poison. I wanted to scream, I saw red. This woman has the absolute audacity to ruin a welcome gift that cost me $450 and then accuse me of being dramatic. She then had the nerve to try and borrow $200 from me via Venmo request 2 hours later. I blocked her number. I was done, just done. But I still had a massive crisis. The groomsmen's gifts were also missing a batch of custom Apple Watch bands that cost $700 total. This is where my other dear friend, Dorothy Johnson, 32F, came in. Dorothy, bless her heart, is currently couch surfing at her 3rd place this month. She is chaotic, always late, and exists in a permanent state of mild confusion, but she's loyal. She was supposed to manage the smaller details like retrieving the groomsmen's gifts from the engraving shop. She called me this afternoon, right in the middle of a team's meeting about quarterly projections. Logan, oh my god, I am so sorry, she whispered, the signal cutting out slightly. My Samsung Galaxy battery is dying at 3% and I am outside of the mall. They said the engraving shop closed early, but look, I saw a kiosk, Purity Pearls, and they said they could engrave the bands here like right now. I was already exhausted. I had only slept 4 hours last night because I was up trying to coordinate a last-minute flower substitution. Long story, involves my florist getting food poisoning from a bad batch of Chipotle. Dorothy, are they actual Apple Watch bands or those cheap knockoffs? They feel real, and they have this guy working here, Eugene Reed, 64M. He is very passionate about the quality. He has a full beard and keeps showing me pictures of his cats. I sighed. Just meet me there. And please don't let Eugene talk you into buying a personalized charm bracelet for Leo. I left work early, which meant sacrificing 2 hours of precious overtime. My boss, Betty Gupta, 36F, gave me the side-eye as I passed her office, but she's the authority figure who signs my checks, so I just smiled that sickly sweet, recovering workaholic who is about to have a nervous breakdown smile and bolted. I drove my beat-up 2018 Honda Civic to the Willow Creek Galleria, cursing every second of the bumper-to-bumper traffic on the 101. It took me 45 minutes to find parking, and I ended up in spot B, 47 miles away from the entrance. My mind was racing. Rent is $1,247, and I'm footing most of the wedding bill while Leo finishes his startup, which mostly involves him watching Hulu and posting inspirational quotes on Instagram. The math wasn't mathing, you know. When I finally reached the 2nd floor, the air conditioning was struggling, and the place smelled vaguely of stale cinnamon pretzels and despair. I found Dorothy standing next to the Purity Pearls and Personalized Gifts kiosk. She was wearing mismatched leggings and looked like she hadn't slept in a week, which, knowing Dorothy, was probably true. The kiosk itself was a nightmare of tacky merchandise. Everything was covered in glitter and had inspirational quotes etched into it. Standing behind the counter was Eugene Reed, 64M. Eugene did indeed have a thick, unkempt gray beard, but the first thing he said to me wasn't about the watch bands. "Ah, the anxious young man," Eugene said, leaning conspiratorially over the counter, completely ignoring the fact that I was actively holding the watch band's box. "Did you know that the entire mall infrastructure is controlled by a secret consortium of lizard people who are using the centralized air system to disperse subliminal messaging designed to make you buy overpriced, non-essential personalized novelty items?" I blinked. Dorothy just nodded enthusiastically. "See Logan, he's very passionate. He's a conspiracy theorist, but in a charming way." I needed to stay focused. "Eugene, hi Logan, we just need the engraving done. Can we keep this quick?" "Quickness is a construct of the Matrix, young man," he intoned, holding up a small engraved metal plate that read "Live, laugh, love, and don't trust the government." "But yes, I can perform the ritual engraving. That will be $85 up front." I felt my eyes start twitching. $85, I already paid the other place. But I didn't have time. I zelled him the money immediately, watching the notification pop up on my crack screen iPhone. While Eugene was messing with the tiny engraving machine, which honestly looked like a high school shop class project, I turned to Dorothy. "Did you remember the emergency bag, the one with the documents and the brooch?" Dorothy's smile faltered. Her eyes went wide. She looked like a deer caught in the headlights of a very fast Toyota Corolla. "Oh my God, the emergency bag." My stomach dropped. I physically felt the blood drain from my face. I grabbed her arm. "Dorothy, where is it?" I think I left it in the car." "Your car, the one you parked in the overflow lot 3 blocks away and you always forget to lock." I was trying not to yell. I was literally shaking. No, I parked right outside apartment 3B this morning and then I took an Uber here because traffic was awful. I put the bag, the green canvas one, right on the roof of my beat-up Toyota Corolla while I was looking for my keys, and then I got in and drove away." I couldn't breathe. My chest went tight. I heard a high-pitched ringing in my ears. I felt faint. The brooch, the $75,000 heirloom that represented everything, on the roof of her unlocked, beat-up car, which she then drove away from. "Dorothy," I managed, the word thick and tasting like ash. "Did you stop anywhere between apartment 3B and the mall?" She chewed her lip, thinking hard. "This is the part where you just want to punch something, but I had to stay calm." "Yes, I had to stop for gas because I was on E, and then I stopped at the drive-thru at Chick-fil-A because I hadn't eaten anything solid since yesterday. I spilled coffee all over the passenger seat, which I cleaned up with a handful of napkins, and then I drove straight here." 3 stops. 3 potential places the bag could have slid off the roof. I immediately pulled up the Find My iPhone app, remembering I had casually slipped an AirTag into the brooch bag after watching a Crime Junkie podcast episode about stolen valuables. I know, hypervigilance, but past me was such an idiot for trusting Dorothy with this. The AirTag location was pinging, not at Chick-fil-A, not at the gas station. It was pinging right here, Willow Creek Galleria. Specifically, the location was marked as lower-level storage area 4. I showed Dorothy, my fingers shaking on the screen. "It's here, someone found it, maybe they turned it in." Hope, stupid, reckless hope surged through me. "Betty Gupta 36F. I practically sprinted toward the customer service desk, Dorothy scrambling to keep up, while Eugene just chuckled softly behind us, muttering about government surveillance and the superiority of tinfoil hats. Betty Gupta was the mall manager on duty, a no-nonsense woman in her late 30s wearing a sharp, slightly ill-fitting navy blazer. She had that "I've dealt with thousands of angry shoppers and crying children and I am deeply unimpressed" energy. "Welcome to Willow Creek Galleria. How may I ignore your concerns today?" she said, not looking up from her desk where she was actively reading a celebrity gossip blog. "Ma'am Betty, I need your help. I think a very valuable piece of family jewelry, an antique diamond brooch, was located somewhere in the lower-level storage area, possibly near Bay 4. I have the AirTag pinging the location." I quickly showed her the screen. Betty sighed, running a hand through her perfectly styled hair. "Listen, sir, we get these calls constantly. People lose their keys, their phones, their sanity. Storage Area 4 is strictly employee access. You can't go there. And unless you have a police report, I'm not sending staff to retrieve what is probably a set of misplaced AirPods." "It's not AirPods, it's an heirloom. We're talking $75,000, I insisted. That got her attention. She squinted at the screen. "An AirTag, huh? That's new." She pulled up the mall security cameras on her desktop, the screen flickering a little. We watched the footage from the main concourse near the elevator banks starting from around 4:30 p.m. And then we saw it. About 5:00 p.m., a man walks into the frame carrying a green canvas bag. The green canvas bag. He was tall, dressed in a faded black hoodie and had a very shifty posture. He seemed to be looking over his shoulder constantly, like he was expecting to be caught. He went straight into the staff-only corridor leading toward the storage units. "See, that's the bag. Who is that?" I demanded, adrenaline surging through my veins, wiping away all the earlier fatigue. Betty zoomed in the image grainy. "That's not an employee, doesn't have a badge." Then the man paused and pulled the brooch box out of the bag. He opened it under the harsh fluorescent lights. The diamond caught the light. It was unmistakable. It was huge. Even on the grainy footage, I felt sick seeing it outside the box, exposed. And then he closed the box, tucked it into his hoodie pocket, and discarded the green canvas bag into a trash receptacle near the security door. Betty shook her head slowly. "Well, he definitely took it. Let me check the next camera feed to see where he went." She switched the view. This was the view right outside the service elevator, and the man was waiting, fidgeting. Suddenly, a woman walked up to him. She had bright red lipstick and expensive designer sunglasses perched on her head, even though she was indoors. She was wearing a perfectly tailored black pantsuit that screamed money laundering or extreme MLM executive. She looked at the man, smirked, and then reached into the pocket of his hoodie. She pulled out the velvet box, opened it, examined the contents, and gave a slow, satisfied nod. Then she handed him a wad of cash. It looked like $100 bills. A lot of $100 bills. They shook hands. The man walked toward the exterior service door. The woman walked straight toward the second floor, toward the general vicinity of where Dorothy and I were currently standing. I stared at the screen, jaw dropped. Dorothy gasped. "Who is that woman?" I demanded, my voice dangerously low. Betty Gupta, authority figure 36F, zoomed in on the woman's face. The resolution cleared up slightly. "Oh, I know her," Betty said, her voice completely casual, like this was totally normal. "That's Amelia. She runs the high-end jewelry appraisal and consignment boutique near Nordstrom. She's definitely known to deal in, let's call them, off-market items. She usually sets up shop in that little pop-up space near the escalators when she's trying to move a particularly hot item." "Wait, she's still here?" I asked. "Probably," Betty confirmed, already bored and clicking back to her gossip blog. "She moves fast when there's a quick score." I took a deep breath. My $75,000 heirloom, the one essential item for the wedding, was just fences right here in the Willow Creek Galleria Mall, and the buyer was still here. I felt rage, pure and clean, for the first time all day. I wasn't just anxious or stressed anymore, I was furious. This wasn't a screw-up, this was a crime. "I need to go after her," I stated, already turning around. Dorothy grabbed my arm. "Logan, wait, you can't just confront a jewel fence. She probably has security or a knife or something." "I don't care, that's my grandmother's brooch. I'm calling the police, but I'm not waiting." I rushed back toward the kiosk where Eugene was still painstakingly engraving something, a motivational quote about the dangers of 5G probably. I needed to get the Apple Watch bands and get the hell out. But as I reached the counter, Eugene looked up, his eyes wide and panicked. He was pale beneath the thick beard. "They're not here," he whispered, his voice shaking. "The watch bands? What do you mean they're not here? You were literally just working on them." "No, not the engraving. That was completed minutes ago." He pushed the box toward me. "The brooch, Logan, the one you were talking about, the extremely valuable 7th-generation heirloom brooch." My heart pounded against my ribs. "What about it, Eugene?" He glanced nervously over his shoulder toward the service corridor I had just seen on the security footage. "I was running late for my shift change, so I left the kiosk unattended for exactly 6 minutes, 5:30 p.m. to 5:36 p.m. to retrieve a box of promotional stress balls from storage area 4. They've been using that area lately and the alarm has been deactivated." My mind flashed back to the security footage. The man with the green canvas bag walked into that corridor around 5:00 p.m. But wait. Woman Amelia walked toward the second floor with the brooch around 5:15 p.m. The timelines didn't match the AirTag pinging near storage area 4 at 5:30 p.m. The math was still wrong. "And what does that have to do with anything?" I asked, my frustration mounting. Eugene leaned in, his voice barely audible. "While I was down there shuffling boxes, I saw the green canvas bag. It was in the trash. I recognized it from what Dorothy described." "You pulled the bag out of the trash?" "Well, yes, I assumed someone had carelessly discarded their wedding essentials. I saw the velvet box inside. I realized it was valuable, so I pocketed it, intending to return it to you when I got back." I felt a surge of relief. "Wait, no," extreme confusion. "You had it, you had the brooch?" "I did," Eugene said, pulling at his beard nervously. "But when I came back up to the kiosk at 5:36 p.m., there was a commotion. Someone was hovering right here. When I looked down into my apron pocket where I put the box for safekeeping, it was gone." I stared at him. "You're telling me you stole the stolen item and then that stolen item was stolen from you at your own kiosk?" "Yes, exactly. It's a conspiracy of theft. The lizard people want the diamonds for their energy sourcing rituals. It makes total sense if you follow the logic," Eugene insisted. But I wasn't listening to the lizard people logic. My blood was running cold. If Amelia bought it and walked off with it at 5:15 p.m., why did Eugene find it in the trash at 5:30 p.m.? And if Eugene pocketed it and brought it back to the kiosk at 5:36 p.m., who the hell took it from him? The mall was practically deserted by then, except for a few late shoppers and us. "Who was here, Eugene? Who was near the kiosk between 5:30 and 5:40 p.m.? He wrung his hands. "It was mostly you, Dorothy, and Audrey." "Audrey Carter, 34F. My bitter ex-friend, the one who tried to gift me expired snacks and anti-vax pamphlets, the one who tried to Venmo request $200 from me just hours ago. She was still apparently lurking around the mall, possibly checking on the status of the return policy for the expired snacks. Did you see her take it?" "No, but she was asking Dorothy very invasive questions about where you were going and what was in the green bag," Eugene whispered fiercely. Before I could process the fact that Audrey might be a diamond thief, the kiosk phone, a cheap landline with a cracked receiver, rang sharply. Eugene answered it mechanically. He held the phone out to me, his eyes wide with genuine panic this time, fear overriding the conspiracy theories. "It's Betty Gupta. She says you need to come back to the security office right now. She just reviewed the high-definition footage from the adjacent candle shop, focusing on the Purity Pearls kiosk between 5:30 and 5:40 p.m. I took the phone. "Betty, what is it? Did you see who took it?" Her voice was low, serious, and devoid of the earlier indifference. "Logan, you need to get down here. The footage is crystal clear. I know who took the brooch from Eugene. And Logan, this is going to sound completely insane, but you need to call your fiancé right now before I call the police." "Why, who was it, Betty? Just tell me." "It was Leo," she stated flatly. "Your fiancé, Leo." He walked right up, took the box out of Eugene's apron pocket, and then walked quickly toward the main exit. "No, that's impossible," I stammered. "Leo he's at home. He's supposed to be finalizing the Spotify playlist for the reception. He never leaves the apartment after 5:00 p.m. He hates them all." He was wearing a baseball cap and glasses, but it's him. Logan, he met someone at the main entrance. A woman, they hugged, and then she handed him an envelope. And Logan, the woman he met was Audrey Carter. I dropped the phone. It hit the laminate floor with a sickening clatter. My fiancé, who claimed he was home finalizing music, was at the mall. It wasn't just here, he stole my grandmother's brooch from the man who had temporarily stolen it after it had been potentially stolen once before. And he was working with Audrey, the bitter ex-friend who has been generating chaos all week. I felt like I was standing outside my own body, the betrayal, the audacity. My stress acne flared up immediately. I wanted to throw up. Dorothy was staring at me, equally horrified. Leo and Audrey, but they hate each other. She thinks his startup is a scam. It gets worse, I heard Eugene mutter, scrambling to pick up the broken landline. He looked genuinely terrified. They weren't working together, Logan. Look at the engraving machine. I turned, following his shaky gaze. The engraving machine was still running, but it wasn't engraving anything. It was displaying the last thing it had etched before Eugene left. It was a small, ornate platinum tag meant for a high-end gift. The tag read, "To Amelia, for the deposit. LM Logan Martinez." That's me, my head spun. I stumbled back, knocking into a display of personalized dog tags. Leo had paid the jewelry fence Amelia with the brooch and then met Audrey to pay her off for what? Distracting me with the gift basket drama. And why did that engraved tag say LM? I knew Leo used my debit card and my Zelle constantly, but why would he use my initials on a tag meant for the person who just bought my family heirloom? Unless he had been planning this entire destination wedding nightmare to cover the theft, and he intended for me to take the fall. My mind raced back to the original theft. The man who first picked up the bag and sold it to Amelia. The description was vague, but tall, black hoodie, shifty posture. I suddenly remembered a detail I had suppressed in my chaos. 2 days ago, Leo had asked me for $500 cash for something important for the venue, and he was wearing a very specific faded black hoodie. He also claimed he was going to buy new glasses to change up his look before Cabo. I grabbed the watch band box I had almost forgotten. Inside, Eugene had finished the engraving. All 12 bands were etched with the groomsmen's names. But on the inside of Leo's band, Eugene had etched one final customized line, presumably because Leo had paid extra for a secret message before I arrived. It read, "For my wife, Emil." I was done. I was literally actually done. I wasn't just losing my fiancé, I was losing my identity, my family's legacy. And apparently I was the subject of a massive multi-tiered conspiracy that involved expired snacks, lizard people, and a jewel fence named Amelia. I turned back to the kiosk, looking at Dorothy, my useless, well-meaning friend, Eugene, the chaotic conspiracy theorist who somehow held the key to all the plot twists, and the phantom of Audrey, the bitter accomplice. I pulled out my phone. I didn't call the police. I didn't call Leo. I opened up the Reddit app, went straight to r/am I the asshole, and started typing this post. I needed help, validation, and a full-scale public execution plan. "I'm going to find them," I said, my voice eerily calm, "and I am going to call them out right here, right now in the mall." I looked down at the engraving on Leo's watch band again, "For my wife, Amy." I realized I couldn't afford to move out of the apartment alone. I was going to need my security deposit back, and I still had 147 unread work emails waiting for me in the morning. I looked at Eugene. "Is Amelia's pop-up shop still open?" "They keep late hours when there's a big transaction," Eugene confirmed, nodding gravely. "But you can't go alone, you need backup against the Matrix." I was already halfway across the concourse. I stopped dead in my tracks. Dorothy and Eugene ran to catch up. "Logan, what are you doing?" Dorothy pleaded. "I'm going to find Amelia. I'm going to call out my cheating, possibly criminal fiancé, and I'm going to get my brooch back." I pulled out my phone and started scrolling quickly through my camera roll. I had screenshots, I had texts, I had everything. "Eugene, can you track that AirTag location again?" I asked. Eugene pulled out a battered Samsung Galaxy and started tapping furiously. "The signal is moving fast, Logan. Wait, it's coming back toward the center of the mall, second floor." "Where exactly?" I demanded. It's moving toward the food court." "Wait, no, it's stopping right outside the Disney store." I started running. I felt my lungs burning, the tears threatening to fall, but I held them back. I was wired, exhausted, and running on pure rage and 3 cups of bad gas station coffee. I rounded the corner past the closed Auntie Anne's pretzel stand and slammed into a metal pole. I stumbled, recovering quickly. And there they were, not Leo and Audrey, just Audrey Carter, 34F. She was standing next to a slightly shorter woman in a black pantsuit. Amelia, the fence. Audrey was holding the small velvet box and laughing, a mean, sharp sound. Audrey saw me, her eyes narrowed. "Well, look who finally decided to show up. Did you finally get the memo, Logan?" Before I could process the words, Amelia, the jewelry fence, reached out and gently placed her hand on Audrey's shoulder. "Audrey, darling, you know the rules. No talking about the arrangement in public, especially not near the Disney store. It's bad luck." Audrey just shrugged, a wicked grin spreading across her face. "Relax, Amelia, he's not going to do anything. He never does. Besides, he's a little late. The brooch is already gone." "What do you mean gone? Amelia, you just bought it. Where is it?" I screamed, my voice echoing slightly in the empty mall corridor. Amelia gave me a patronizing look, smoothing the lapel of her expensive suit. "Oh, honey, I already flipped it. Fast market, and it wasn't a sale, it was a trade." "A trade for what?" I demanded, my hands shaking so badly I shoved them into my pockets. Amelia looked at Audrey and they exchanged a look that made my skin crawl, pure cold malice and triumph. Audrey spoke, her voice saccharine. "Didn't Leo tell you, Logan? That brooch was never going to be melted down into wedding rings. It was traded for the most valuable asset Leo needs right now." "What asset?" Audrey paused for dramatic effect, leaning in close so only I could hear the last part while Dorothy and Eugene hovered nervously 10 feet away. "It was traded for a new identity. Leo is gone, Logan. He's on a flight right now. And he sold your heirloom to pay for a very specific type of paperwork that gives him a new passport, a new name, and a new life. He's starting over far away from his creditors. He's not just running from you, he's running from literally everything. And I helped him do it because honestly, Logan, you always treated me like trash. I didn't hear the last part. I felt my knees buckle. Leo traded the only thing I cared about for a new identity, and he used my rival Audrey as his accomplice. I took a shaky breath trying to regain control. I looked at the brooch box still in Audrey's hand. Wait, if he's gone, why do you still have the box? Audrey smirked, pulling the box open slightly. It was empty. Oh, this is just decoration. Memento, Leo said you'd want it back. Sentimental value, right? You psycho, I managed. Amelia, still looking calm, pulled out her own iPhone and tapped the screen. We have a problem, Audrey. The buyer is delayed. He's stuck at the airport due to some ridiculous baggage issue. I need the brooch back in my possession immediately until the transaction is finalized. Audrey's eyes flickered, realizing she might lose control of the situation. She tucked the empty box into her jacket. Fine. But I am keeping my commission. You both are delusional criminals, I roared. I'm calling the police right now. Betty is already reviewing the tapes. You're going to jail. Amelia just laughed. Logan, you think the police care about a private trade between consenting parties? The brooch was legally abandoned property found by a homeless man and purchased by me. You have no claim, sweetie, you lost it. And your fiancé, LM, facilitated the trade. But the engraving, the LM on the tag, pointed wildly. Amelia's laugh deepened. Oh, that wasn't for you, Logan Martinez. That was for Leo Martinez. He's the one who signed off on the trade. Wait, Leo used my last name, but he always insisted on keeping his last name separate because of his startup brand. My head snapped up. Leo's last name isn't Martinez, I whispered. It's Reed, Leo Reed. He only started using Martinez a few months ago because he said it sounded more corporate. No, wait, Leo's name is Leo Reed. Who the hell is Leo Martinez? And then I saw it. Eugene Reed 64M had finally caught up. He was standing right next to the jewel fence Amelia. Amelia smiled again, but this time it was a terrifying, genuine, familial warmth. Oh, Logan, she cooed. Leo's real name is Leo Reed. And this, she gestured smoothly to the conspiracy theorist standing next to her, adjusting his thick conspiratorial beard, is not Eugene Reed, the kiosk employee. This is Leo Reed's father. And my mentor, my actual name is Amelia Reed. We're a family business. Eugene Reed, the man who claimed to have retrieved the brooch from the trash, the man who set up the entire kiosk operation, the man who was now standing shoulder to shoulder with the jewel fence, smiled slowly. It wasn't the chaotic, charming smile of a crackpot. It was the icy, calculated smile of a master manipulator. Welcome to the family, Logan, Eugene said, leaning in. Or well, welcome to the part of the family that just got $75,000 richer. I looked at Dorothy, who was currently just hyperventilating silently. I looked at Audrey, who was clutching the empty box, her job complete. And I looked at Eugene, who wasn't just a random conspiracy theorist mall worker. He was the father of my fiancé, and he was standing next to his daughter, the fence. They had been working together the whole time. The entire mall kiosk, the accidental AirTag location, the stolen sequence. It was all a theatrical distraction to cover the fact that Leo had planned to ditch me and pay off his actual wife Amelia using my heirloom. My stomach officially hit the floor. I felt dizzy. I had to get the brooch back. I had to expose them, all of them. But before I could even formulate a single coherent thought, Audrey pulled out her phone. Oops, she said, tapping the screen. Just sent the full story to all 150 wedding guests. Cabo is officially canceled. Good luck with the fallout, Logan, I saw red. I didn't care about the wedding anymore. I didn't care about Leo. I just cared about the brooch and exposing this criminal family cabal. Eugene turned, a look of focused panic returning to his eyes. Betty Gupta's calling the police. Amelia, we need to move the merchandise now. Amelia sighed dramatically. Fine, father, I'll take the back door. Audrey, hold the diversion. Amelia began walking quickly toward a fire exit, pausing only to retrieve a small, slightly dented black duffel bag that was tucked behind a promotional display for the Disney Store's new line of collectible mugs. It looked heavy. Wait, the brooch, where is it? I shouted, stumbling forward. Amelia just smirked, pointing to the duffel bag. Oh, it's safe. It's actually being used right now to pay for my brother's, Leo's, private flight out of the country. But I have the down payment right here, and I will not be losing it. I looked at the bag. I looked at Audrey, who was now blocking my path with her body. I looked at Eugene, who was staring intently at the flickering fluorescent lights, probably waiting for the lizard people to descend. I knew the brooch was in that bag, and that bag was about to disappear through a fire exit. I pulled out my phone, quickly switching off the Reddit app, and opened the camera. I took a quick shaky photo of Audrey and Amelia, and then I focused on Eugene's face, making sure the logo of the Purity Pearls and Personalized Gifts kiosk was visible in the background. I am exposing all of you, I hissed. I don't care about the police anymore. I'm taking this public. Audrey just smirked, putting her hands on her hips. Do it, Logan. You'll just look like the crazy ex-fiancé who fell for a scam artist. But I saw the brief flicker of fear in Amelia's eyes as she watched me take the picture. I charged toward the fire exit, but Eugene, despite his age, moved surprisingly fast, lunging and grabbing the handle of the duffel bag Amelia was carrying. You're not getting this, Logan, Eugene screamed, pulling the bag toward him, accidentally yanking the strap loose. The bag didn't just contain the down payment money. The moment the duffel bag ripped open on the tile floor of the Willow Creek Galleria, thousands of loose, cut, and unset diamonds, sapphires, and rubies spilled out, scattering across the floor like glittering water. The whole thing was a massive high-stakes jewel fencing operation run out of a mall kiosk. And my $75,000 grandmother's heirloom brooch was lying right there, unsecured, next to a pile of what looked like $10 million in hot rocks, directly beneath the giant promotional poster for Disney's new Princess Tiana merchandise. I froze, they froze, Dorothy screamed. The silence was deafening, broken only by the sound of Betty Gupta's rapid footsteps approaching from the security office. I looked at the brooch. It was within reach. But Amelia and Eugene were already moving toward the fire exit, desperate to secure the rest of their payload. And then I saw Audrey. She wasn't running. She wasn't even looking at the diamonds. She was looking at me with a terrifying expression of calculated regret and genuine threat. "Don't you dare," she warned. I looked down at the priceless exposed heirloom. I looked at the three criminals running. I looked at the approaching authority figure. And I realized I could grab the brooch and run, or I could stop them and start the fight. My heart was racing so hard I thought it would burst out of my chest. I couldn't move. I literally cannot deal with this. What the hell do I do right now? Do I secure the heirloom or expose the entire Reed family operation? Holy crap, okay, I literally cannot believe I am typing this right now, but I have to finish the story. I know I left you guys hanging, standing there staring at millions of dollars in loose, uncut gemstones scattered around a promotional display for Princess Tiana mugs. Yeah, that was my life. 2:37 a.m. on a Friday morning, standing in a suburban mall next to a newly revealed crime family. I told you I was frozen. I couldn't move. I saw the brooch, my grandmother's brooch, lying there. It was so close. But then I saw the three of them, Eugene, Amelia, and Audrey, moving, scrambling, trying to get away with the rest of the payload. And I realized, if I grab the brooch, they run and they get away with everything else, and nobody will believe my story later. It'll just be the idiot who got swindled and then claimed his fiancé was a jewel thief operating out of a pearl kiosk. I needed the evidence and the witnesses. I chose public execution over immediate recovery. Dramatic? Absolutely. The only way to win? Probably. No, I roared, and honestly the noise that came out of me was not human. It was pure distilled fury mixed with 2 weeks of sleep deprivation and the smell of stale cinnamon pretzels. Instead of grabbing the brooch, I did the only thing I could do. I screamed so loud my throat is still raw 2 days later. "Call the police, BTTY. They are running a fencing operation out of the kiosk. He's Leo Reed's dad and she's his wife, Amelia Reed. They are trying to flee with stolen property." I didn't care about looking crazy. I just needed noise. Amelia immediately dropped the rest of the duffel bag, which still held most of the larger, heavier items, and bolted for the fire exit. Eugene, Leo's father, the former charming conspiracy theorist, made a move for the brooch, but I was faster. I didn't pick it up. I kicked the empty brooch box, the one Audrey was holding, toward the spilled jewels, using it as a distraction. Audrey screamed, thinking I was going for the box. That gave me the split second I needed. I didn't tackle Eugene. That's insane. He's 64. I shoved a nearby display rack of personalized keychains directly into his path, and he went down hard, right into a pile of sapphires. The keychains flew everywhere. I heard one of them hit the wall and shatter. Betty Gupta arrived, running full speed, her navy blazer flying out behind her. She took one look at the chaotic scene. The glittering jewels, Eugene struggling on the floor, me hyperventilating, Dorothy hiding behind a pillar, and she didn't even hesitate. She didn't run after Amelia, she went straight for Eugene. Betty, the authority figure, channeled all her repressed mall manager rage into a single decisive move. She grabbed one of the rogue personalized keychains that had survived the impact. It was one of those big foam letters. Ironically, L for Logan, and used it to hook Eugene's foot right as he tried to get up. He went down again. "You're not going anywhere, sir," Betty announced, sounding completely calm, even though she was standing knee-deep in $10 million worth of hot property. "This is unauthorized activity and a severe violation of Willow Creek Galleria Lease Agreement Section 4B, Paragraph 2, concerning the sale of non-permitted consignment goods." I swear she was more upset about the lease agreement than the actual crime. Meanwhile, Amelia had vanished through the fire exit. Audrey, seeing her business partners go down, realized she was now alone with an extremely angry, extremely volatile ex-friend and a very motivated mall manager. Audrey tried to play it cool. She pulled out her phone. "Logan, don't be a hero. You have no proof. I was just meeting a friend." I pointed to the floor. "Proof? Audrey, you are standing next to a pile of literal treasure, and I have screenshots of the engraving tag that says to Amelia for the deposit, LM, and I have Betty's security footage of Leo stealing the brooch from Eugene's apron. And I have the text thread where you tried to borrow $200 from me hours before this whole farce started. TBH, you look less like an accomplice and more like a desperate idiot who got roped into a family scam." That hit her hard. She went from cold malice to pure fury. "I didn't steal anything for him. I helped him because he promised to pay me back for the $450 you stiffed me on for those gift baskets. And those snacks weren't expired, you drama queen, they were artisanal. They expired in 2021, Audrey, it's 2024, I yelled back. Betty, having secured Eugene with his own promotional keychains, finally pulled out her professional mall walkie-talkie. "Security to all units. Code 7 Bravo. Massive inventory lost near Disney store. Lock down perimeter and notify MPD immediately. Requesting backup for one male in custody and evidence retrieval. And for crying out loud, somebody find me a broom." The sound of sirens was already distant but approaching. Betty Gupta was efficient. She might read celebrity gossip, but she knew how to run a lockdown. Audrey realized her time was up. She didn't run toward Amelia. She ran in the opposite direction toward the main food court, leaving the empty box behind. Dorothy finally emerged from behind the pillar, looking shell-shocked. She walked right over to the pile of jewels, and instead of calling the police, she picked up my grandmother's brooch. Logan, she whispered, her voice shaking but steady. We need to go. We need to leave Eugene and Betty to deal with this, and we need to secure this. Right now. She shoved the brooch into the palm of my hand. The weight was instantly familiar, heavy enough to contain the sun. But the police, I stammered, looking at Betty, who was now arguing with Eugene about his rights to a lawyer. Eugene insisted he only needed a lawyer who understood the deep state's control over public utilities. The police will interview Betty. We are exhausted and victims of a multi-tiered scam, Logan. You have the irreplaceable heirloom. We are leaving the disposable millions here. Let the authorities sort out the illegal gem trade, Dorothy said, surprisingly level-headed for someone whose car was involved in the initial theft. Maybe the chaos actually focused her. And you know what? She was right. I needed to get the hell out of that mall and protect the one thing I actually cared about. I looked at Eugene one last time. He caught my eye. Logan, you need to understand, this was a test. Leo was trying to save you from the global economic collapse. We were converting fragile paper wealth into portable assets. Shut up, Eugene, I said, putting the brooch securely in the tiny zipper pocket of my hoodie. You are literally the worst father-in-law a man never had. We ran. We bolted out of the mall, past the arriving police cars, past the flashing lights, and somehow we made it back to my beat-up Civic B47. Dorothy, still wearing mismatched leggings, drove because I was physically unable to function. 2 days later. Okay, so I need to update you all on what happened after that absolute train wreck. I haven't slept naturally. I spent Saturday and Sunday dealing with the immediate logistical apocalypse. First things first, the brooch is safe. I drove straight to my parents' house and locked it in their safe deposit box. My mom cried. My dad just looked at me with the kind of pity that says, I told you that fiancé was trouble, even though he never actually said that. Second, the police. Betty Gupta is a legend. She called me late Saturday morning. Mr. Martinez, she said, her voice dry, the police are happy. They found enough uncut gems near the kiosk to launch a full investigation. Eugene Reed is currently in custody, claiming the entire operation was an elaborate sting operation run by the lizard people to expose corrupt mall security. Did they get Amelia Reed? I asked. Amelia, she's gone. She went out the fire exit and vanished into the night. She left behind the duffel bag, which contained approximately $3 million worth of additional jewels and cash. Your involvement is clear. You were the intended victim and you helped secure the suspect. The police want you to come in and give a formal statement, but Betty Gupta here says you're traumatized and need time. Betty Gupta, my hero. She was covering for the fact that I left with the only item of real value, but I suspect she just wanted the paperwork to be minimal. In GL, I think she enjoyed the chaos. It probably broke up the monotony of reading celebrity gossip. I filed a preliminary report outlining the theft of the brooch before Eugene recovered it and provided the police with all the evidence I had, the photos, the text messages, and the screenshots of Leo's bank records, which I had the good sense to snap before I realized he was a criminal. Seriously, always screenshot shared bank accounts. The police confirmed that Leo Martinez was an alias. His real name is Leo Reed. He has outstanding warrants related to investment fraud in 3 different states. The destination wedding was definitely just an elaborate smokescreen to facilitate the transfer of the brooch, my asset, to Amelia, his actual wife, to pay for his new identity, which Audrey facilitated. Third, Audrey. I woke up Saturday morning to 87 notifications. I had done it. I executed the public call-out. I posted the full story on Reddit Friday night, right after getting the brooch secured. But I also made a very detailed post on Instagram and Facebook, tagging Leo, Audrey, Eugene, and even the Purity Pearls kiosk. They definitely took down their page. I included the screenshots of the tag engraving, the text from Audrey about the expired snacks, the police report number, and a giant picture of the busted open jewel bag on the mall floor, snapped by Dorothy before we ran. The internet went wild. My original post on AITA got 5,000 comments in 4 hours. The comments were universally NTA, this is cinematic, and OMG, I need the Netflix adaptation. Audrey's response, predictable and the catalyst for her eventual breakdown. She posted a long, rambling, semi-coherent defense on her own Instagram, claiming I was lying and emotionally unstable. She said I was the one who traded the brooch, and Leo was simply trying to broker peace because I was being dramatic about the expired organic gluten-free pretzels. But the evidence I posted was undeniable. Within hours, Audrey was getting absolutely flamed. People were screenshotting her failed Venmo request to me for $200 and posting it everywhere. Friends, mutual friends, even distant wedding guests started messaging me with their own stories of Audrey's shifty behavior. That's when the character development started, not for the better immediately, but it was real. Audrey, seeing her entire online life crumble, deleted all her accounts and completely ghosted. Later, I heard from a mutual friend that she was hiding out in a cheap motel and trying to figure out how to pay back the $450 she spent on the artisanal snacks that nobody wanted. She became the pariah she deserved to be, but she also clearly hit rock bottom. I almost felt bad, but then I remembered the anti-vax pamphlets and the expired chips and the $75,000 heirloom, and the feeling passed quickly. Fourth, the apartment. This was the real stress. Leo was on the lease and my name was on the joint bank account, thank God for that. He drained everything except $38.47 from the checking account. All transactions dated 2 hours after he met Audrey and Amelia at the mall exit. The audacity. I went back to the apartment on Sunday, accompanied by my friend Sarah, who was supposed to be a bridesmaid but was now on Operation Save Logan's Sanity. The place was mostly empty. Leo had taken his expensive gaming setup, all his clothes, and every single one of his startup brand logo mugs. He left behind a half-eaten bag of Takis and a passive-aggressive post-it note stuck to the fridge that read, "Sorry about the wedding, had to be done. We'll send money when I can. P.S. Don't forget to pay the electric bill, it's due Tuesday." L. He actually signed it, L. I ripped the note into confetti. I immediately changed the locks, closed the joint bank account, and started the process of breaking the lease, which naturally cost $2,500 in penalty fees. I was suddenly broke, heartbroken, and living alone in an apartment full of his ghosting energy. A week went by where I felt like a zombie. Work was a nightmare. I returned to the office Monday morning, looking like I'd been wrestling a bear in a gravel pit. My boss, Betty Gupta, the other one, the authority figure from my actual job, not the mall one, called me into her office immediately. "Logan," she said, folding her hands on her desk, "are you all right? Your PTO accrual is impressive, but you look like you're running on negative sleep." I told her a heavily redacted version of the story. I focused on the fraud, the destination wedding cancellation, and the financial stress. I did not mention the lizard people, the mall chaos, or the multi-million-dollar jewel spill. Betty listened intently. She didn't offer comfort, but she did offer something better: practical help. "Leo Reed is a known subject of interest for financial malfeasance," she stated, scrolling quickly through a background check website I didn't even know existed. "He was flagged several times by our corporate fraud prevention software when he tried to apply for credit cards using your address. You should have checked that software, Logan. Rookie mistake." She wasn't wrong. Recovering workaholic means I only focus on my deadlines, not the red flags in my personal life. "I am filing this under extreme personal emergency," she continued, already typing on her keyboard. "Take the next 2 weeks off, paid leave. And Logan, use that time to find a lawyer and find a new place to live. If you stay in that apartment, he has legal recourse to re-enter. You need clean space." It was the most empathetic thing Betty Gupta had ever done, even if it was framed as a stern corporate directive. I cried on the walk back to my cube, not because I was sad, but because the relief was so overwhelming. 2 weeks of paid leave to deal with the fact that my life was a lie. The support system kicked in immediately. Dorothy, despite being a chaotic nightmare, was there. She was racked with guilt over the car incident, but she was also incredibly helpful. "I'm sorry, Logan," she said when we met for terrible mall coffee. "I refused to go back to the Willow Creek Galleria. I should have locked my car. I should have checked the roof. I just get so distracted." "Dorothy, look at me," I said, sipping the burnt brew. "You were distracted, yes, but Leo was planning this for months. Your distraction was just the vehicle he used. If it hadn't been your car, it would have been a misplaced suitcase or a fire at the storage facility. Stop blaming yourself." She looked at me, genuinely shocked by the forgiveness. "But the AirTag location, when he was with Audrey, why didn't he just take it right away?" "Because he needed it to look like it disappeared naturally, then reappear stolen later, and then stolen again from Eugene, who conveniently pocketed it," I explained. It was layers of plausible deniability. The AirTag pinging near storage area 4 was part of the theater. Eugene probably had the AirTag on him the whole time, and the brooch was already at the kiosk, waiting for Amelia to arrive and buy it with the pre-engraved tag. We started talking about Eugene. Dorothy, who had genuinely liked him despite the conspiracy theories, looked heartbroken. "He seemed so passionate about the 5G and the personalized gifts," she lamented. "He was," I said. "And I think that was the key to his development, honestly. Remember I said Eugene was going to undergo significant character development? It happened in police custody. Apparently, when the police started questioning him about the jewel fencing operation and the Reed family enterprise, Eugene didn't deny it. He just integrated it into his established worldview. He convinced himself and reportedly several junior officers that the jewel trade was simply the largest and most effective way to expose the corrupt global financial institutions. He wasn't a criminal. He was an economic whistleblower who needed rare stones to pay off the shadowy informants who fed him intelligence about the mall's centralized air system. The police were very confused, but thanks to Betty Gupta Mall Authority, they had enough physical evidence of illegal trade to charge him. The FBI got involved because of the cross-state fraud and Amelia's rapid escape. I had to laugh, dark as it was. Eugene Reed, the conspiracy theorist, finally found a conspiracy large enough to be worthy of his passion, and he was the star. By Tuesday, I was moving out. I found a tiny, depressing studio apartment near my office. The rent is $1,400 a month, which is $153 more than my half of the previous apartment, so my finances are officially screwed, but Sarah and Dorothy helped me move all my stuff. As I was packing up the last box of my own non-expired snacks, my phone dinged. It was an email from an unknown address. Subject: concerning the brooch. I opened it immediately. It was from Audrey Carter. It was short, blunt, and completely lacking in any apology, which actually made it feel more genuine. "Logan, I saw your post. I saw the comments. You won't hear from me again. I'm leaving the city. I need to be completely honest with you about something, though. I didn't help Leo because he offered to pay me back the $450. I helped him because he offered me the chance to humiliate you publicly. I thought that if the wedding fell apart spectacularly and you were blamed for the brooch loss, I would finally feel satisfied. I was wrong. I feel like complete garbage. Seeing Eugene go down like that and seeing what a cold criminal Leo is made me realize I wasted my energy on petty revenge when I should have been focused on my own life. I'm not asking for forgiveness, but I am telling you where the brooch is going next." When Amelia bolted, she didn't just grab the duffel bag. She grabbed a small messenger bag I was holding, thinking it contained the payment Leo made to me. It didn't. It contained my expired TJ's gift basket inventory, but she must have used it to carry the brooch when she fled. I watched her go toward the back service road. She got into a beat-up silver minivan with a Cabo 2024 bumper sticker. That was the driver Leo hired to get them to the private airfield. The minivan belongs to a transport company called Reliable Rides LLC. Check the security footage near the service road entrance from 5:45 p.m. Good Good luck. TBH, you deserved better than both of us. Audrey, I stared at the screen. That was the character development I needed. She still couldn't admit the snacks were expired, but she admitted to the malice. And she gave me a solid lead on Amelia. I immediately forwarded the email to Betty Gupta Mall Security and copied the detective on my case. Betty responded 90 seconds later, I'm on it. I love a good silver minivan chase. We'll update. Fast forward to Friday, 1 week since the mall incident. I'm sitting in my empty new studio eating ramen, watching The Office for the 18th time when my phone buzzes. It's an unknown number. I almost ignore it, but I've learned my lesson about ignoring potential criminal updates. Hello, is this Logan Martinez? This is Detective Miller with the MPD. My heart pounded. Yes, detective, what's the update on Amelia? We located the silver minivan, he said, sounding tired. It was found abandoned in a long-term parking lot at Lax. The driver, who claims he was just delivering luggage and thought Amelia was just eccentric, has been detained. Amelia and Leo are long gone. So they got away, I whispered. Well, yes and no. They didn't get far before they had a major problem. Amelia's plan was flawless except for one thing, a 3-block walk and an Uber ride in a state of chaos. What are you talking about? The AirTag. Remember how it was pinging near the Disney store earlier that night? After you ran and we were securing the scene and cataloging the evidence, which thank you for providing clear boundaries for us. By the way, we realized the AirTag was still active. But I have the brooch, I insisted. It's in my parents' safe. Exactly. The AirTag wasn't in the brooch box, Logan. It was in the green canvas bag you placed the box in, the detective explained patiently. The bag that Dorothy put on the roof of her car and which the first thief, whom we now identify as a homeless gentleman, picked up before selling the contents to Amelia. Amelia bought the brooch, but she discarded the AirTag bag in the trash near storage area 4, which Eugene then retrieved. Wait, I put the AirTag in the brooch bag, I corrected. I remember, crime junkie. No, Logan, you put the AirTag in the green canvas carry-on bag. The AirTag never left the carry-on bag. Eugene just happened to bring the discarded carry-on bag back up to the kiosk at the exact moment Amelia and Leo were planning the exchange. The brooch, meanwhile, went from Amelia's hands into Audrey's messenger bag when Amelia panicked and ran, and then into the duffel bag for the transaction with the ultimate buyer. My mind raced back. I did put the AirTag in the canvas bag. I was so sure I put it in the velvet box, but no, I remembered the zipper pocket on the outside of the canvas bag. My hypervigilance was technically sound, but practically useless. The AirTag location tracking was tracking trash the entire time. So the brooch, where is it now? I asked, dread creeping in. Amelia and Leo's flight was cancelled, the detective said, not because of weather but because of a massive multi-department incident at Lax baggage claim involving a specific set of checked luggage. What luggage? Leo Reed was apparently checking 3 very large, very heavy suitcases all addressed to L. Martinez. He paid the overweight fees in cash, but when the baggage handlers put them through the X-ray, they were alerted. We intercepted them. And the brooch? Yes, Logan, the brooch was inside the false lining of the third suitcase wrapped in a tinfoil hat. I stared at the wall. A tinfoil hat, of course, Eugene. We believe Eugene placed it there before the family split up as a precaution against government surveillance during transit. It's safe now, Logan. It's currently being held as evidence, but because you have clear documentation of ownership and inheritance, we are confident it will be returned to you once the legal proceedings against the Reed family are finalized. I sank onto my floor. The brooch was safe. Leo and Amelia were on the run facing international charges, and Betty Gupta was probably reading about them on her favorite celebrity blog. Update: this morning I got a random message. I was trying to unpack and found a terrible, sad, personalized charm bracelet that Dorothy must have bought from Eugene the day of the disaster. I told her not to. It had a tiny charm that said believe and another that said kindness. It just felt incredibly stupid and pointless, but I put it aside. Then the message came through my LinkedIn DMs. Yeah, LinkedIn, because nothing is sacred anymore. It was from Eugene Reed. His son must have paid for his bail. LM, I know you feel betrayed. But look around, the matrix is shifting. I wanted to tell you that Audrey Carter, your angry ex-friend, is actually quite brilliant. She visited me in the holding cell. She admitted she was wrong and she wanted to help. She said she finally saw the truth. The government controls our taste buds with expired snacks. I told her she needed a new outlet for her anger. I gave her the plans for a new organization. She left the state and is now organizing a small community of like-minded individuals focused on identifying and mitigating the subliminal messages distributed through public water systems. She has started a GoFundMe for educational pamphlets. I think she has found her purpose. I laughed out loud. Audrey Carter finding redemption by becoming a regional conspiracy activist. Her character development was not a change of heart, but a change of target. She was still bitter and focused on chaos, but now she was channeling it into organized paranoia. Honestly, NGL, that felt right. She was always going to pick a fight with somebody. I blocked Eugene on LinkedIn immediately. The legal process is a nightmare. I have hired a fantastic lawyer who specializes in separating financial assets from fleeing fraudsters. It costs $400 an hour, which is why I'm eating ramen, but I need the assurance that Leo will never touch my credit score again. I had to cancel the Cabo vendors and eat about $4,000 in cancellation fees, which is devastating, but it's done. My mom is surprisingly supportive, helping me track down all the vendors and explaining the situation. She even zelled me $500 for emergency pizza and therapy. The friends are solid. Dorothy is taking me out for ice cream tonight to celebrate the successful recovery of the brooch. She still confuses the days of the week, but she's loyal. I'm still at my job, which is a miracle. Betty Gupta, work authority, keeps checking in, not with empathy but with firm, practical questions. Did you file the change of address form with the post office? Did you initiate the police report supplement? It keeps me grounded. 6 weeks later, I'm typing this from my shoebox studio. It smells faintly of laundry, detergent, and regret, but it's mine. The brooch is still in the safe, waiting until the dust settles completely. I look at it in the reflection of my cracked iPhone 14 screen. I am not the same Logan Martinez who started this saga. The recovery workaholic is still present. I still check my PTO balance this morning, 49 hours now. I'm already ahead, but something has shifted. I look for red flags now. I ask uncomfortable questions. I prioritize my sanity over arbitrary deadlines. I realize the entire destination wedding wasn't about love or commitment. It was a distraction I built for myself because I was too scared to admit my life with Leo was built on quicksand. I was so focused on the logistics of happiness, the perfect flowers, the custom bands, the itinerary, that I completely ignored the core requirement, a partner who wasn't actively plotting my financial ruin. I spent 8 months planning a wedding that lasted about 12 hours in the second floor of a depressing suburban mall, and I lost $4,000, almost $75,000 in my entire relationship, all to a family of jewel fencing conspiracy theorists. It still hurts. I still miss the idea of him, which is the stupidest part. I still have moments where I want to text him a long, rage-filled novel. I didn't. Sarah holds my phone hostage after 9 p.m. The biggest relief is that I faced the ultimate betrayal, not just being cheated on but being used as collateral, and I didn't crumble entirely. I fought back, not with silence but with noise. I chose the public call-out and it worked, maybe not cleanly but effectively. Leo is officially a fugitive, Eugene is in legal trouble, and Audrey is busy fighting the municipality about fluoride content. I still have bad days. Yesterday I saw a couple arguing about place settings at Target and I had to walk out because it triggered a low-level panic attack. But yesterday I also laughed really hard at a stupid TikTok about cats, and I realized that I am going to be okay. I changed the ringtone on my phone. It's not a notification that screams work, it's just a generic chime. And when I look at the engraving on that final groomsman's watch band that Eugene etched for Leo, 4my wife, AM Yella, I don't feel rage anymore. I just feel relief that I dodged the bullet. I am Logan Martinez, 24M, recovered from a failed destination wedding, recovering from workaholism, and slowly recovering from realizing my life was a high-stakes crime drama. I am currently interviewing new roommates for the studio, which is an adventure. The lawyer thinks the brooch will be mine free and clear by the end of the year. The important thing, the mall kiosk is closed, permanently. Betty Gupta is finally getting the quiet she deserves. Thanks for listening, guys. It helped to type it all out. We'll update if anything else insane happens, but honestly, I hope nothing does. I'm exhausted. I'm going to go pay my electric bill now, on time, because I am responsible, unlike some people I know. Wish me luck.